In the turbulent heart of ancient Greece, one man's vision would alter the course of history. Born without noble blood, Themistocles rose through wit and willpower to become the architect of Athens' salvation. From rallying a city against the Persian tide to building the naval empire that would define an age, his life was a storm of brilliance, ambition, and betrayal. This is the story of a hero who saved his people, only to be cast out by them.
Themistocles was born around 524 BCE in Athens, the son of Neocles, an Athenian citizen, and a non-Athenian mother, possibly a Thracian or Carian, making his origins somewhat humble by Athenian standards. Unlike many of his aristocratic contemporaries, he did not belong to one of the noble families and was considered a political outsider in his early years. However, he possessed a sharp intellect, natural charisma, and a restless ambition that quickly set him apart. As Athens transitioned into a more democratic society following the reforms of Cleisthenes, Themistocles aligned himself with the common people rather than the elite. He understood that the new political structure favored persuasive orators and skilled politicians who could sway the assembly. With tireless determination and a clear vision for Athens' future, he began building his political base, often outmaneuvering more established rivals. His early career was defined by a desire to strengthen Athens not just through traditional land power, but by preparing it for a new kind of warfare, one that would come from the sea. This foresight would later prove critical in shaping both his destiny and that of the city he served.
Between 493 and 482 BCE, Themistocles laid the foundation for what would become Athens' greatest strength, its navy. After being elected archon in 493 BCE, he directed major civic and military projects, the most critical of which was the fortification and development of the port of Piraeus, transforming it into a powerful naval and commercial hub. This move reflected his deep strategic foresight. He recognized that Athens, with its limited farmland and vulnerable position, would need a strong navy to defend itself and expand its influence. His vision truly took shape around 483 BCE, when a rich silver strike was discovered in the mines of Laurion. While many Athenians wanted to divide the wealth among the citizens, Themistocles persuaded the assembly to instead invest in building a fleet of 200 triremes, arguing that it was vital to prepare for a renewed Persian threat. His proposal was bold and controversial, but it passed, an early demonstration of his political genius and ability to read geopolitical tides. These naval reforms would not only reshape Athens' military capabilities, but also shift its identity toward a maritime power, ultimately positioning it to challenge Persia and later dominate the Aegean during the rise of the Delian League. In 480 BCE, Themistocles rose to legendary status during the Persian invasion led by King Xerxes I. After the heroic stand at Thermopylae and the fall of Athens to the advancing Persian forces, many Greek leaders called for retreat and surrender. Themistocles, however, held firm to his vision of naval supremacy and proposed a daring counterstrike. He devised a cunning strategy to lure the vastly larger Persian fleet into the narrow straits of Salamis, where their numbers would become a liability. Using deception, he sent a false message to Xerxes, suggesting the Greeks were in disarray and planning to flee. The bait worked. The Persian fleet entered the straits, only to find itself trapped and disorganized. In the chaos that followed, the smaller and more maneuverable Greek ships, many of them Athenian, launched a devastating assault. Themistocles' strategy resulted in a stunning victory that crippled Persian naval power and forced Xerxes to retreat. It was a turning point in the Greco-Persian Wars, and Themistocles was hailed as a savior of Greece. His brilliant mix of psychological warfare, naval planning, and raw political nerve demonstrated not only his military genius, but also his ability to lead in moments of existential crisis. In the aftermath of the Persian Wars, Themistocles stood at the pinnacle of fame, but his triumph was short-lived. As Athens entered a new era of power and prestige, his once celebrated ambition began to breed suspicion and resentment among both allies and fellow citizens. Many found his pride overbearing, and his habit of claiming personal credit for collective victories strained his relationships with other leaders, especially the noble and respected Aristides. Moreover, Themistocles' aggressive rebuilding of Athens' walls, done in secret and against Spartan objections, further isolated him from key Greek allies. His political rivals, including Cimon and the aristocratic factions, gradually gained influence, portraying him as a threat to Athenian democracy and stability. By 471 BCE, these tensions culminated in his ostracism, a democratic procedure where citizens voted to exile a potentially dangerous individual for 10 years. Despite his past heroism, Themistocles was cast out, a victim of the volatile political system he had once mastered. His fall from grace revealed the fleeting nature of popularity in democratic Athens, and how quickly a savior could become a scapegoat. After his ostracism, Themistocles wandered through various Greek territories, but his position grew increasingly precarious. Accusations later emerged that he had conspired with the treasonous Spartan general Pausanias, prompting renewed hostility and formal charges of treason from Athens. Realizing that returning to Greece meant certain condemnation, Themistocles made a shocking and ironic decision. He sought asylum in Persia, the very empire he had once fought so fiercely to repel. Far from seeking revenge, the new Persian king, Artaxerxes I, saw in Themistocles a valuable asset. The exiled Athenian was granted refuge, a royal pension, and governorship over the city of Magnesia in Asia Minor. There, Themistocles lived in comfort and influence, reportedly learning Persian and adapting to court life. Some sources claim he was asked to lead a Persian campaign against Greece, but he refused and took his own life rather than betray his homeland, though others suggest he died of illness. He passed away around 459 BCE, a man both celebrated and vilified, whose final chapter unfolded far from the city he once saved. His life ended in a paradox, a Greek hero honored by Persia, living out his last days in the service of an empire he had once humbled. Themistocles' legacy is one of brilliance, ambition, and paradox. Though his life ended in exile and controversy, his strategic foresight permanently reshaped the destiny of Athens, and by extension, the ancient Greek world. His greatest achievement, the creation of a formidable Athenian navy, laid the foundation for Athens' rise as a maritime empire and ushered in the golden age of Athens, during which it became the cultural and intellectual heart of Greece. The victory at Salamis, which he orchestrated with cunning and daring, did more than repel the Persian threat. It preserved the independence of the Greek city-states and ensured that democratic ideals would survive and flourish. Politically, Themistocles demonstrated how democratic power could be wielded with charismatic leadership, showing that vision and rhetoric could rival birthright in shaping the polis. Yet his downfall serves as a cautionary tale of how personal ambition, when unchecked, can clash with the fragile trust of a democratic society. Even in exile, Themistocles remained a figure of fascination, a Greek statesman honored by Persia, a war hero mistrusted by his people. Today, he is remembered not just as the savior of Athens, but as one of history's most complex and brilliant strategists, flawed but indispensable to the survival and ascent of classical Greece. And so ends the remarkable journey of Themistocles, a visionary who turned Athens into a naval powerhouse, a cunning strategist who outwitted an empire, and a fallen hero whose exile became legend. His life reminds us that greatness often walks a fine line between glory and ruin. Thank you for watching and joining us on this voyage through history. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, so you never miss a tale from the ancient world. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.